Well, hello everyone. Glad you could join us this evening for tonight's webinar. We have a number of special people that will be on tonight giving their testimonies. One of them that will be live tonight will be Josh Bowers, and you'll be able to see how PBM affected him. Tonight also, I want to extend a thank you to Dr. Malone, who opened the door for a lot of people to learn about PBM. And tonight, we have people from all the way from England to South America, to Florida, to Hawaii, and into Alaska. So we've got a large area of coverage tonight. We want to thank everybody for joining us. But it is through Dr. Malone that quite a number have been able to join in, not only join in, but also learn about PBM and purchase units, which they have seen how this light has been able to help them. So, so I'd like to start off with our webinar with our the opening video. Thank you.
PBM stands for Photobiomodulation. Photo being light, bio being biology, and light, well, light coming from some kind of source. In this case, PBM is used to help stimulate healing in the body, whether it's an LED, whether it's a laser, whether it's a sun, but that light comes through the skin layers, and actually the cells are able to absorb that light, converting it to energy, and then there's a host of different processes that are stimulated because of that light. So you can speed up healing, you can do different things that is very beneficial for the cells themselves, for healing, for reduction of inflammation, and a host of other things. Kerber USA is a company that we have set up to promote healing for the US and around the world. We would like to see this technology help a lot of people. We use LED technology where we can provide high amounts of light into the body, and that stimulates healing. I'd like to introduce you to the SunPowerLED Palm Ultimate. This device here has the most power of the series of devices. This light can produce a huge amount of light that can enter into the body and help speed up that healing. In this device, we have two different wavelengths. It's 660 nanometer, and as you can see, it's very bright, but it's very effective. You will cause a systemic effect with this wavelength of light. The other wavelength is 810. It's not very visible, but it penetrates very deep, and that can help as well reach the target that you're trying to reach. The main part about this light is that we have the power behind it and the large surface area that can reach very deep into the body. We believe that our product is the most powerful LED cluster under the sun. We have specification of this device of 150 milliwatts per square centimeter, and that is over this entire area of 40 square centimeters. It also provides a wall of light that comes through the skin and is able to reach depths that have never been able to be done before with other light products on the market. There's an interesting biblical passage in Malachi 4:2 that talks about the healing that comes from the rays of the sun. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide healing with these rays. PBM has also been shown in various studies to be able to help promote healing in wounds such as diabetic ulcers, venous ulcers, and other areas where cuts or burns or other types of wounds are on the skin level. If you have any questions about PBM and how our light device, the SunPowerLED Palm series, can help you, please reach out to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Tonight we will be focusing on tinnitus or tinnitus. It's pronounced different ways, ringing in the ear, as well as the effect that PBM can have on brain issues. So tonight we'll have 4 testimonies, and I would like to introduce our first testimony, a fellow by the name of Josh Bowers. And Josh is with the University of Buffalo, and he had a dramatic effect by using lights. So hello there, Josh.
Hello, Tom. Good evening. How are you?
Very good, thanks. How about yourself?
Excellent.
That's good. That's good. Ready to tell how light impacted you?
I sure am. It's an amazing story.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you first learn about light therapy, PBM?
So in 2019, I had 2 grand mal seizures, a couple months apart, and was going through the whole MRI thing, trying to figure out what's going on and so on. And Dr. Praveen Arni from the University of Buffalo is the one who introduced me to PBM. And the long and short of it is that I knew Dr. Arni outside of PBM. I knew he was a researcher at the University of Buffalo, but that was the extent of it. So he knew what I was going through and invited me into his lab and said that, look, I have something that I think will help you. And so he started to, give me treatments right there in his lab for a period of about 2 months. Is what happened there, and immediately I found some relief. Okay, I was sleeping better. That was the first thing. The insomnia decreased dramatically, and then from there, just my overall function. Okay, so perhaps some sort of brain fog issues. I was just thinking clearly better. I was in a much better spot. So to fast forward in the story a little bit. It was about 2 years later, I had a setback. I obviously for that the first couple months, I mentioned he was treating me, but then I thought everything was good, right? Like again, I was sleeping better, everything was good, and so I quit. I quit using PBM. I did not go back to Dr. Arni's lab anymore. Again, I thought it was everything was good. Well, 2 years later, I had a setback. I had another grand mal seizure. And so I called Dr. Arni because at that point I wanted to do anything possible to not have any further relapses. And so I said, please, can I come back to your lab? And this was during COVID. So we had some restrictions back then. And plus I live about 25 minutes away from his lab. And he said, look, he's like, I want to help you. I said, but the best help I can give you is to put you in touch with Tom up in Canada. He's got the best at-home device, best at-home PBM device. And he's like, I really think you should buy one. So anyway, Tom, from there, it's like he made history, right? So he put me in touch with you and I bought one, and everything has changed since then. Every night, okay, religiously for 2.5 years, I've been using this prior to bedtime. Thanks be to God, I am seizure free. I think I missed one night in there, Tom. It was a night that I traveled away and I forgot to take the unit with me. But otherwise, every single night, I'm using it for 15 to 20 minutes, and again, seizure free in that time.
For 2.5 years since starting to use the Palm Light, so that's fantastic. So, how did you end up using the light in your particular situation? How did you treat yourself?
Yes. And it's a great question there. From Dr. Arni, he told me, at the outset. Yeah, that's it right there. Right to the head. But he told me there would be, some trial and error. Okay. And he basically pointed out 8 different parts of the brain that I should focus on. Okay. So above 2 eyes, okay, 2 temples, 2 ears, okay, very back of the head, and then very top of the head. So my MRI show that I have scar tissue over here on this side of my brain. So in essence, that potentially is a trigger point, right, for my seizures, this scar tissue over here. So what I have found is beneficial to me is that I focus here on this side of my brain. That's just the sort of the protocol that I have followed. Now I should say this, like I am also headache free. I'm no dizzy spells. I mean, nothing. It's truly a miracle to tell people that for 2.5 years I haven't had a headache. Like it's just, it seriously blows my mind just to think about. Um, okay, but in those early days, okay, when I would have some sort of pain, some sort of sensation going on, I would immediately, okay, apply it to the focal point of the pressure on my head. Okay. And it's one of those things, okay, that it doesn't cure you in real time. Okay. This is one of those things where it takes the body time to heal, takes time for blood to flow, cells to generate, and so on. So again, back in those early days of using it, I would find that a couple hours later, wow, I don't have a headache anymore, right? Or even the next morning, let's say I'd wake up, no headache. So truly amazing. No migraines. Like I've been virtually perfect since I started to use this product. I might also add that the ball of the neck here, okay, so where the spine sort of meets the neck, that's proven to be a great spot as well. Well, I've had other friends who have purchased a unit from you, and they've found success, tremendous success with, putting it right there on the ball of their neck.
There was since you've had good success with it, you've also shared it with others. And so I remember there's a person that had a lot of migraines. You want to say
right.
about that one?
Right. So, she kind of heard what was going on with me and the success I had with it. And she's like, man, I need that. I really struggle with migraines. I mean, I knew she had migraines, but I didn't know how severe it was. She was getting 20 migraines a month, and the doctors really couldn't help her, really didn't have an answer. Okay. And so she buys, Tom's unit. And then the very first month, okay, 20 migraines had gone down to 2 migraines. So she's, seen her life turn upside down in such a positive way. And she has had success by doing the ball of the spine / neck area that we just described. And it makes sense, right? Like this idea that spinal fluid, okay, goes up into the brain. There's an obvious connection here. Okay.
Yeah.
As to get that light in that area, to get spinal fluid flowing up to the brain, she's had great success. And I might add as well, there's been a concussion study conducted by Dr. Arnie, and we heard about a boy around the corner from us who had a very severe concussion to the point where he was getting motion sick just in the bus going to school. And so again, we put that family in touch with you. They purchased a unit, and he's seen great success as well. I don't want to say he's 100% cured yet because it was a severe concussion, but at this point, like his focus is better, right? Like he's able to read better in terms of seeing words on a page. He's able to watch TV. He doesn't get sick in the car. So he's seen great success.
Well, that is neat as well. You've been able to, outside of issues with the brain, you've been also able to see it being used inside your house for various applications.
Right. So it's great for me to talk about, and I know that I've told you this, but I say it's like the go-to item in our first aid kit. I mean, seriously, the very first time there's sort of an ailment or a headache in this house or any type of pain, I tell the family, right, go find the light, right, find the light unit. So just a quick couple examples there. My son had a large mole removed from his face a year or two back, and got out the light, right? So he came home a little bit stitched up, and we use that bright light setting that your video showed. And Tom, you also have the glasses. You remember you got us some of those glasses to protect the eyes. So I had him, put the glasses on and shine the light right here on his face. And the dermatologist who had done the surgery, who's just amazed at how quickly Carson had, recovered. And really, if you were to see him today, you would not really see any scarring at all. You'd have to look super close to notice that anything was ever there. So just remarkable in that regard. Then a couple more quick ones. My daughter, who's a volleyball player, she broke her foot. Took her to the doctor. The doctor said 6 weeks in a boot. 6 weeks in a boot. We started hitting her with a light every night. Again, 15 to 20 minutes. That daily use we went in for the 3-week checkup, and the doctor had her walk around, and he's like, I can't believe this. I don't know what to say. Put her through a couple of routines like, calf raises and, walking, small jumps and stuff. He's like, I can't believe this. No need to use the boot anymore. He's like, you're back at it. He's like, I'll give you the note to be able to go back to gym class. So everything's good. So he was amazed. And similar story with my wife's sprained ankle. The boot, okay, she was in the boot, started using the PBM on her, and she saw a dramatic recovery. So I love it. I cannot say enough about this. How it's and there are probably a half dozen other examples I could point to as well. But it is truly the go-to, and it's made a world of difference in our family.
Well, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your testimony as how you've been able to use the light and how you've helped others. And you haven't mentioned it, but that's for another evening. But so many others have benefited from you sharing the ability of the light and how it can help. So thank you very much for coming on tonight and being part of this webinar. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So next we're going for Fernando. Okay. So tonight, next testimony is a recording that we did with Winston Neal. Winston Neal is a friend of mine. He's an 82-year-old guy who is a go-getter. And just over a year ago, he had a stroke, and he was significantly impaired with his speech. It was extremely hard to understand him on the phone. And so I suggested that he use the light and our helmet that I'll show you a little later here. He put the helmet on and did a 3-minute treatment, and the family and friends all noticed that, and this is crazy, by the next day he was you could understand him clearly. Now it still has some issues because of that stroke, but you'd never know by his speech abilities. So I'll play that now. Great guy, Winston. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Winston Neal, and the reason I'm here today is because less than a year ago I had a stroke, and my speech was affected, and Tom Kerber suggested I get under the light. And I would say that light therapy has been a savior to me because it was able to correct my speech. And I would say to anyone, check out the light, because light can do wonders for you.
Yeah, so with his situation there, such a dramatic change even in the one treatment. Interesting enough, we do talk about that in another part, that it can actually stimulate hair growth. And he noticed new hair growth on top of his head. So a little side benefit that he enjoyed. So the next person we have coming on is an older testimony. And the reason I have this, playing this one as an older testimony, is that Fernando had significant problems with tinnitus and some other issues, and he did some work for me and for our building here, and I learned that he had this issue, and so he was able to try the light firsthand. So here we go with Fernando.
Fernando is a renovator, and he will explain more about how the PBM has helped him.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fernando, and I met Tom Kerber in regards to some renovations in his office. And I approached him having a Dandy Walker syndrome which is a cyst behind the two hemispheres in the brain. And he advised me to use the light for in back of the, also then use on the lymph nodes to drain it, see if it helps. And what had happened was, started using it, I also suffered from severe tinnitus. So I just for trial started putting it on my ear, on my left ear, and I noticed that in a couple of days it actually started subsiding my tinnitus, and it hasn't cured it, but it has incredibly decreased the ringing and the terrible sounds it was making in my ear. I actually loved it so much, I purchased one for my mom as well, because she also suffers from tinnitus as well. And I had a really good side effect from the light. I actually got it. I went to my sister's house, and she says, "You don't have a bag under your left eye, but you have a bag on your right eye," because I was predominantly using it on my left ear. And if you can see, I actually have no bags on my left eye, but I do have one on the right eye. So I haven't used this side to show people. In addition, it also got rid of my turkey neck. So it actually has and I can show you a picture of last year's picture. We can see a turkey neck. So it's helped my tinnitus, and it's improved my looks, which I need all the help I can get. So fantastic job, and it really helps people. Thank you. Thank you for all your help.
Well, that's pretty neat that it improved his looks. How it helped him with his tinnitus. He was so happy because it was really, really bothering him, the ringing in his ear, and he had it for a long time. The next guest that I have on is Pamela Taylor, and she works for our company, she will be saying how she has been able to use the light, the palm light, and how it's helped her. And she continues to help now many others because of her knowledge that she's gained on how light can work. So next I'm going to have up Pam Taylor.
Hi, my name is Pam Taylor, and I work at SunPowerLED. I have the luxury of being able to use the red and near-infrared lights that we sell. I have brought it home and started to use it on my shoulder on an old mountain biking accident. I have that muscle that typically everybody has from stress on that right side. And by using the light on my shoulder just about every evening for about 3 weeks, it has started to heal, and I am not woken up by pain in the night at all anymore because of that. So I am very, very grateful for that. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is the fact that when people come and have a session with the red and near-infrared lighting, often I will call them the next day or even a couple of days after, and just about everyone says, I had the most amazing sleep. The other thing that I've been hearing is that they are using it on their heads for things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and seizures. So that cued me into other things with what I had. And I actually had a little bit of a hard time in my life where I had trouble sleeping, which I believe a lot of people do. And I started to use it on my head. And what happened was it not only helped to reset my circadian rhythm, and I've also learned that red and near-infrared lighting increases your melatonin. So I have been able to sleep again. And the other thing that has helped me is my tinnitus in my ears. So I am incredibly grateful. Thank you.
So that is definitely some neat effects of PBM and how it can help. So in particular, the fact that they have learned that melatonin can be improved upon by light therapy. Not only that, how then having that in place, that can improve sleep. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to go into talking about the various products, and I will have a question and answer period afterwards where I welcome you to start thinking and writing down those questions and put them in the chat area, and we'll try and address them as best as we can. I also mentioned behind me here, we have our website, www.sunpowerled.com. You can go there, and there's more testimonies, there's more technical information, and there's links to a very good database, and also the one article, the one Substack, Let There Be Light, that was written by Dr. Malone. So please visit the website, and if you have questions, come out to email us at info@sunpowerled.com. So we just a little background. Oh, also one more thing, we will be giving at the end of the month, we will be giving away a SunPowerLED Super Palm. If you stay to the end, you'll be added to the draw, and at the end of the month, all those that have attended and stayed to the end will be entered in that draw for a free unit. So, free Super Palm. So we have different versions. We have what we call the Classic. It is just a one wavelength device. It's really where we started. It helped different people, and we saw good results with it. Better along the spectrum is the next light up, which is the Palm Professional, and it has two wavelengths. It has the 660 nanometer. And just to give you an idea of the type of penetration that one can get through even my hand, and now that happens to be 660 nanometer. The other wavelength, 810 nanometer, is not very visible. So you'll see it just lightly shown on this screen, but it actually, this wavelength will penetrate much deeper. So just think of it, if you have your device and you're wondering, okay, once again, which wavelength should I use? Shallower, you would use the bright setting, and for the deep areas, the dim setting. It's, like I say, it's the same power level, but it penetrates much deeper. It's just that your eyes can't see it, that's all. So there's the professional unit. Then we have, so the professional unit sells for $975 US. Then we have the next unit up. It is the Ultimate, and the Ultimate has the same two wavelengths, the 810 nanometer and 660 nanometer, only it's 25% more power, and that allows you to treat a little faster, and there's possibility of helping a little more on the depth. The professional or the Ultimate definitely can go into areas like right through the flesh, right into a sciatic nerve in the hip. It can penetrate deep into the shoulder, to give you some ideas. So the rest of the areas are no problem. It was actually Josh Bowers who used the 810 nanometer on the brain, and 810 can penetrate through the skull without too much trouble. Many people don't realize that that the skull is a high mineral content, and that's why the light can penetrate deeper. And then we have what's called the Super Palm 1050. That's the one that we will be giving away at the end of the month, and its value is like $2,200. So it has the 660 nanometer, same thing like the Ultimate and Professional and the Classic, but the other wavelength, 810 nanometer, I can look at it and all I see is one little red indicator light. I don't see the other ones because it's totally invisible. So if I hold it up to the camera, you will see these little purplish dots. The camera's picking it up, but it's totally invisible to me. So that's the 810. Now we do have joining us tonight a number of dentists, and we do have a device that Palm, like that an optical probe that allows us to put this into the device, and then that allows a person to go and treat inside the mouth various conditions using the light that way. So it's possible to have it as a dual purpose external for TMJ, TMD, other herpes, things on cold sores on the lips. But then with the optical probe, you can do more stuff inside the mouth. So that is our Palm series. Then we have another device here, which we call the helmet. And this helmet, SunPowerLED helmet, has the two wavelengths. So it has the 810 nanometer, and it just goes down on top of the head like that. It has the 810 nanometer as well, and you can see that inside here. So there's actually 10. It's the equivalent of having 10 palms located all the way around, evenly distributed over the whole skull. And the benefit of that is that a person can do a much faster treatment all over the whole brain at once. And so instead of spending about 3 minutes on an area, as Josh was saying, you can do the whole area at once. So in a clinic setting, much faster to be able to use that. And like issues with the brain, like you saw the testimony both with Josh, with the seizures, with Winston, with the stroke, it's possible that PBM light can reach into the brain and help trigger the healing that's needed in the area. So we also have a mini canopy, and the mini canopy is basically a device that has 15 times the area to cover a large area, much larger area of the body. We also have one that's 6 times this area as well. But this is, so here again, this is the one wavelength, and it can be put down. The person can lay on a bed and treat front or back, and also lower this right down. That's the 660 nanometer. This is the 810 nanometer, which is somewhat invisible you might see a little bit of a purplish glow, but you definitely feel the energy coming off of this device. So this is our mini canopy. And then we have a large canopy as well that is the equivalent of 6 of those devices. So just as kind of a little background here, when I was talking the different devices, this is the spectrum of the sun in here, and out this way is the UV blue area. UV is more out here, but what we're looking at is all these colors make up the rainbow or white light, but it's in here, this wavelength here at 660 nanometer, and going this way to 810, and then what's not even on this chart is 1050. But all of these wavelengths will penetrate much deeper. So if a person's trying to treat deeper, the possibility of treating deeper with brain issues and that, the Super Palm 1050 with the absolutely invisible light, except for that one little dot there that you see that shows that it's running, but you do feel the energy from it. But when we first made it, we found people saying, well, is it on? Is it on? And so we added the little tiny LED indicator so that people could see that it was on. So we have these different devices here that cover a wide range of different conditions. So tonight we're talking more about tinnitus and other brain issues. And I'll just come back to this device. We've been able to see people use that device just like the Palm, that they can treat the 3 minutes on the area for the ear, and it can help with tinnitus. And we've seen a significant reduction in noise levels ringing from this. One fellow, 75 years old, he had experienced tinnitus where it sounded like Niagara Falls in his ear all the time for 30 years. He put the helmet on, and 3 minutes later, he couldn't believe it. The noise level had dropped significantly on the affected ear. And although that is something where he would need to continue to treat with that on an ongoing basis, he was able to see a 24-hour improvement to the amount of noise that he had experienced. And he's definitely wants to get a light as soon as possible, and he's going to work out financially when he can. So we had also with the helmet, we've had one individual that also had issues with their brain. They had some I'll think of a lesion on the brain, which was causing some issues, and they were able to use the light. And one of the things that they noticed that they're very pleased with is they couldn't get a good night's rest since using the helmet on a daily basis. She said she's able to get 7 hours in a row and wake up feeling really rested, ready to take on a day. Other things that she noticed was that her she said, I was not calm, was agitated, and to just have an overall new sense of calmness take place. The other benefit that she was not expecting, it was that she was also had a problem with hair growth. So she was wearing a wig with very, very thin hair underneath. And when she took the wig off, she did the light treatment, but that's the way she does it. And she went to the hairdresser to work a little bit with the wig and also to see how things are going. And her hairdresser was very surprised to see new hair growth taking place for her. So hopefully in a couple of months, she'll be able to experience some real good hair buildup. But and I forget, there was one or two other things that she also noticed as a benefit. But that's what light therapy can do. And Josh mentioned about seizures, and there's on our website, there's SunPowerLED. If you go into PBM findings, you're going to find a link to a big database of 7,700 plus research studies that have been used for all kinds of trials that have been going underway when it comes to wound healing, when it comes to tears and helping heal, and diabetic ulcers, and the list goes on and on. And the reason why light can have such an effect is because the cells can actually absorb that light, just like a tree does. We don't think about it, but that's how a tree grows. I know we all learned about it in public school, photosynthesis inside of a tree in the leaves. But in our case, normally you eat, and when you eat, the food is processed, and the energy being pushed through as sugars and other things end up getting to the cell. Well, the problem is when you have an injury and you have very, very poor blood circulation into the area, or the other way around, you have very poor, the lymphatic system is working very poorly, so you can't have the toxins leaving the area. That's where light can bypass everything and get energy directly to the cells. And I explain it like this, is that it's kind of like if your house was in disrepair and the only reason that you weren't fixing it up was because of money. You know, it needed plumbing work. You know, it needed electrical. You know, it needed the roof fixed. You know, it needed some new brick replacement. All of those things couldn't be done because you didn't have the money or the energy. Well, in this case, it's the energy within the cell. But if I came along and said, here's $500,000, go ahead and do what you need to do, well, all of a sudden you would go ahead then and start fixing everything on your house. In this case, the cell is starving and it knows what it needs to do. Our bodies are very well designed. And so it's a case of the cell being able to do all these things, but it can't because it doesn't have the energy. Well, when you apply red light to the area, red or near infrared, and there's different wavelengths will have different mechanisms. So it's very important. That's why we have the two wavelengths, 660 and 810 nanometer, is because both on their own are very important. We don't cut back on the optical power. So we have a lot of optical power and we have the two wavelengths, and that energy can go into the cell, and it's like giving those cells $1 million and saying, what do you want to do with it? And they start doing repair in that. So we were able to see somebody with a diabetic ulcer, and that's again a case of very poor blood flow through the area, and they were going to have their foot amputated, and they got to using the light right away, and within a week the foot amputation was canceled, and the woman was able to see healing take place in her leg on an ongoing basis, to the point where about 4 months later she was able to walk out of the hospital with the wound fully closed in. So it's beautiful to see how the cells can use that energy. So I'd like to ask you, if you've got questions out there, I'll be very glad to try and answer them. Please send us your questions. Are there any questions or chat? And, are we sure we got turned on? Okay. So, I'll just go over one thing. So with treatment, when you're using the light with the two wavelengths, 660 nanometer, as I mentioned, does not penetrate very deep. So with the penetration, this is something that is absorbed more by the blood. And that has a very profound effect in the area because, well, as you know, blood travels much further than just where you're shining a light. So that has a systemic effect. If you're trying to treat something like inflammation in the fingers, you would not need a lot of time with this. So you could do on the near infrared, you do maybe 1 minute because it doesn't take very long to penetrate, and then maybe 2 minutes approximately with the bright level setting. If you were trying to treat your shoulder, now you have much deeper penetration that needs to go in, so to reach the target that you're trying to treat. So it's very important then to expand the treatment time, and in this case, that dim is deeper is very, very important. So on the wavelength that is either partially invisible or totally invisible, depending on whether you have the professional or ultimate or the super palm, you want to be able to use the dim setting for most of the treatment. So 10-15 minutes on an area, and then a couple minutes with the bright setting on that area, because they're both complementary. So if you were treating your knees for inflammation in the knees, now you would treat all the way around the knee and especially it's very important, as one of the doctors that we had on a couple weeks ago, Dr. Jerry Ross, was talking about the lymphatic system. And so it's really important to use the light to help the lymphatic system be able to drain the inflammation. So if you're dealing with your leg, you want to be able to treat, there's an area up here that by the sternum where the lymphatic system is discharged, also through the groin area, through the back of the knee. These are all areas where the legs will drain. When it comes to treatment in the arm, it's under the arm and then across to the chest here as well. So it's important to get into learning about the lymphatic system and how you can encourage the drainage to occur. So I have another question coming up here right now. So tinnitus was, or tinnitus, however you pronounce it, was a result from a concussion, very hard hit to the brain. Would PBM be directed to different areas of the brain or the ear affected? Best thought there is probably to treat the brain area, but just not knowing exactly how the impact had occurred, or I would still probably recommend doing some treatment on the ear as well. So PBM is extremely safe. So it's something that if it's going to help, great. It's not going to cause harm, and we have FDA registration on all our devices, and the big thing with FDA is that they've realized and ruled that PBM is extremely safe to use. So, and the one thing that we have is with the LED technology, we have a very, very even amount of light. So if I show you this way, you can see how there's the unit there, that the whole area, it's harder to see with the way, but this light level is very even across the whole area. So you don't have any hot spots on there to cause burns in that area. So like on a particular spot. So it's very safe to use, and we've added these little bumps on there so that you have some additional airflow, natural air convection to go through. So it keeps the skin even a little cooler. But we have, like I said, a very high amount of light energy coming from this device. And that's what helps us to get in to the areas. There's a lot of toys on the market. There's also devices that there's no way in the world that their device has the measurements that they have. But that's all part of, unfortunately, the marketing that we have these days. It's not about being honest or trustworthy. It's about who can make the most sales. And so honesty goes out the window. But we have our devices we put together have significant optical power. Kind of like if you were to go up if you had a fully loaded pickup truck, and you had a lot of weight in the back of the pickup truck. If you tried to go up a long hill, and I call that hill of healing kind of thing, but if you're trying to go up this long hill and you go try and do with a 4-cylinder engine, you may not get to the top of that hill, and because or it may take you forever. That's kind of the same thing here with the light therapy. When you have enough energy, so if you have a 6-cylinder or an 8-cylinder engine that's very well tuned up, you will not have any trouble going up the hill. But take it up with an 8-cylinder and you can go up you can have things happen. You can get there with the treatment. And that's really what optical power is all about, is the more optical power helps you get up that hill. quicker, trying to heal your body. So I would like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And as I mentioned before, please go to info@SunPowerLED and you can order online. The devices are there. I welcome you to also send in your questions to info@sunpowerled.com. So we'd like to thank everybody for joining us, and we will have another webinar next Tuesday with new guests. So we thank you for everybody joining us tonight. All the best. Bye for now.